To add an application, we're going to move from the home page to the Customer Activity Center and click on Add Application. You'll enter your customer's name, social, driver's license number, and telephone number. Click OK, and the system will load the application. Once the application is loaded, you can work through the tabs to complete the information. So we'll start with the Personal tab. You can fill in who is processing the application if you'd like. Put in the customer's name or make changes if you need to. The driver's license, you could put the state the driver's license was issued in. If you want to put the date of birth, you can put that here. One tip is that if you are going to be pulling a credit application, then you'll definitely want to put a date of birth, otherwise it won't let you pull the credit app. Or I'm sorry, the credit bureau report. You can put the marital status of the customer, the number of dependents they have. You can also track how the customer heard about the dealership. So maybe they were on the internet and they saw your website. You can track the status of the application. So right now it's in open status, meaning that we're creating it. But as you work through the deal, you may have to send this to your credit manager, and they might send it back with some pending stipulations that need to be corrected. So you could edit this to then say pending stipulations. If you deny the credit application, you can click denied and then put a reason for denial. That way in the future, if this customer wants to come in and apply for a loan again, you could pull up this previous application and see why they were denied and make sure everything has been corrected since then. Here in the contact information section, you can enter in additional phone numbers and work and home emails. So let's add an email. And then you have some custom fields available. Here you can create some user-defined fields and gather more information if you'd like. And lastly, on this tab, you can select prior repo or prior bankruptcy to track that information. The next tab is our Residence tab. Here it's good to enter as many addresses as possible for the customer. So you might want to go back 5 addresses and just get that to create a history. And also, in the future, if you ever end up having to locate your customer, these are good addresses to start with. So to add an address, you just click Add Residence, determine the type of residence. Is it a house or an apartment, mobile home, studio? Is it a current or a previous address? Type in your address. And if you hit tab, it'll take you to the zip code. And here you can enter the zip code and it'll auto-populate the rest of the city, state, and county information. You do have a field for directions, and if you'd like, you could enter directions from the dealership to the customer's residence. The next tab in this modal is a Landlord tab. So if they are renting or leasing, then you can enter the landlord information. Again, put in the address and it'll populate the city. Then you can put in the apartment phone number, the main office phone number if you have it. The last tab in the residence modal is going to be where you'll put miscellaneous information like how long they've lived at their residence, what type of mortgage they have, or rental agreement, things like that. So let's say that this customer has lived here since January of 2012, so about a year and a half. They pay rent, so we'll select rent from the drop down. You can select whether or not they live with their parents, and you also have these fields labeled utility company and telephone company. If you want to put the utility company and phone information, you can do that here. You could also use these fields to just enter other information that you might want to store, like maybe a cell phone provider, or I don't know how much they pay for their cell phone a month. And then for the monthly payment, this is going to be how much the rent or mortgage is a month. And then click OK when you have your residence information, and then again add as many addresses as you can for the customer. The next tab is the Employment tab. Here, if you click Add Employer, we can set up the customer's job information. So let's say they live or work at Saks. Their supervisor is Pam. It's a current job, and you can put in an address. If you put in a zip code incorrectly, it will pop up a box asking you if you want to add a new zip code and assign a city to it. You can click cancel and just correct your typing if that happens. Again, the direction field is there, so if you wanted to enter directions from the dealership to the place of employment, you can do that. Contact information, you can get the supervisor phone number. If there is a work number, you could put that in. If the customer has a cell phone through work, if there's a work email or a website, you can enter that as well. The Position Details tab in this modal is going to allow you to enter in how much the customer makes and what type of business they're in. You can put their start date and end date if it's not a current position. You can enter how long they've been at the job, what they make a month. If they're self-employed, you check the self-employed box and you can put that information about what they do up here in type of business. If your customer works a shift, then enter the shift or the hours that they work, and that comes in handy again in the future if you end up having to search for your customer. An agent out in the field can check the place of employment during the specific shift if you have it. You can enter pay days and pay frequency if you'd like, if the customer gets paid on a certain day every week or month, and then if they get paid weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, you can enter that information as well. The next field allows you to put in the next pay date, and then the last field is for union affiliation. So if they are a member of a union, you can enter that information there. Click OK when you're finished, and add as many previous employers as you can, and those can be used for reference purposes in the future. Co-buyers and co-signers are going to be added the same way your customer was. You're going to click Add a Co-buyer or select a co-buyer if you'd like to use someone that's in your previous customer database. Then you'll add their name, get the information that you can from the customer or co-buyer. You can enter all the personal information for the co-buyer that you can get. If you didn't have a social at the beginning, you can enter one when you get to this point. Driver's license state, number, you can enter all that information. Marital status, date of birth. If this is a co-buyer and you're going to be pulling a credit report, then definitely make sure you get the date of birth. It's probably easier just to type it in rather than try to look it up. And then you can put here the relationship to your customer. Then over in the contact information, the same thing, you're going to enter extra phone numbers if they have them and an email address. If you have your custom fields defined, enter that information in your custom fields. The residence tabs, you're going to enter the residence information. Landlord, if they rent, put landlord information. Otherwise, just put how long they've been at that place of residence and what their monthly payment is if they have one. The employment tab, fill that out for your co-buyer. Get contact information for the work if there is available. And position details. How long they've been with the company. What they make a month. And if they work a shift, pay frequency, pay days, and union affiliation. You can go through and complete the other tabs for your co-buyer at this point. Or you can just save the information and go back to your customer's application. The cosigner tab, if you have someone acting as a cosigner who is contributing money but they are not going to be part of the application and title, then you can enter cosigner information in this tab just as you would for the co-buyer and customer. In the reference tab, you're going to select a reference or add reference. To put in a reference, just put in the name, any information you can get about them. And when you click OK, it's going to ask you how they know the customer. You can pick spouse or spouse non-applicant. So if Jane is just trying to get this loan on her own, then she could just still use her husband or spouse as a reference, and he wouldn't have to be part of the loan process. You put address information for the customer. And contact information. If you can get employer name, business email, home email, great. And then save the references. And it's a good idea to get anywhere between 5 and 10 references. And that way, if you end up searching for your customer again in the future, you can use these references to help locate the customer. The next tab is our financial tab. And this tab is going to allow you to determine debt-to-income ratios for the customer. So right now, based on our customer's monthly income and their rent payment, then their debt-to-income is at 38%. So maybe that's a little high for your dealership. Your credit manager is not that comfortable with that. Then, because your goal is to secure this deal, then you can start probing for some more information. Maybe you need to know all the kinds of verifiable income and expenses that they have. So utilities, food and entertainment, cell phone bills, things like that for expenses. You can define these fields that are available in the company setups in the System Utilities Activity Center, and then you can enter the information that you need to. So let's say this was for utilities. I could enter, maybe they pay like $250 a month for utilities, and their cell phone bill is $89 usually, and then they allow themselves $400 for groceries and entertainment a month. So then this customer's debt to income ratio, now we're looking at 70% debt to income. Now I could start asking the customer what other type of assets they have. And I can add those by coming up and clicking Add Account. I can change this expense account or a liability to an asset account. Determine the type of account. Maybe this customer gets child support from a previous marriage. You can put the name, the account description, the last 4 numbers of the account, if there are any, the date the account was opened, and then what the monthly payment is on that account. Click OK. That will now be entered into the additional income section. And so we've dropped her debt to income from 70 to 57. That's too high still for my dealership. So I'm going to have to ask her some more questions. Once I've exhausted all her avenues of income, verifiable income, and expenses, if I still need help getting her debt to income ratio down, then we can move on to the co-buyer and add his information. And because he's agreed to be on the title as a co-buyer, then we can use his income and his expenses to then help offset her debt versus income. So now with his help, we're back down in the 37-38% range. So we're going to say that's good enough to continue with the deal. So the next tab we're going to move to is the Credit Bureaus tab. And here, this is where you're going to come to print a credit application, review a credit report, or create your AutoZoom scores if you are an AutoZoom customer. So you'll begin by inserting application notes headers. You can insert a customer note header, then you can click on Retrieve New Credit App or Print credit report, or print credit application, or you can create your AutoZoom score. I'm not able to actually show you an example because I don't have valid social security numbers to use to pull credit. So I apologize for the lack of an example. The next tab is your credit tab. This tab is going to show you your income information against your credit information from pulling the credit bureaus. You also have this residence information box here where you can enter the proximity to the lot in miles. So how far away does your customer live? We know that the closer they live to the lot, the more likely they are to come in and make their payments. So it's a good idea to come in here and just put how far away they are from the lot. The next tab that we're going to get to is the vehicle info tab. I'm going to skip that for just a second and show you the last two tabs that we have. We have our notes tab, which is going to show us everything that we've done in the credit application. And if I click show notes here, it's only going to show me credit application or customer notes from the customer activity. Unlike the other activity centers that will pull all the notes, this is just going to show you the customer notes that we've entered or any of the actions that have been taken. To add a note, you can click the add a note, select your action. If you need to send a welcome letter, that could be your action. If you have a short note, then it's easier to enter that note here in the reference field, and that way when you save it, it'll appear on the same line as your action information. If you do have more detailed notes, then you can enter them here in the notes body. And when you look it up, then those notes you can highlight your action, and you could double click on it, and it would bring up the notes that you put in the body here. So if you just want a simple, brief note, you can enter it in the reference field. If you have a more detailed information you need to enter, you can put it in the notes section and double click on your action or the log and then view that information. We do have an image gallery in the customer activity. This allows you to import one image of your customer. So maybe you just want to have a picture of your customer to go along with the picture of the car that you uploaded in the inventory activity. Or maybe you want to add a picture of your customer standing with their keys to their brand new car so that you can use that picture in future marketing campaigns. So whatever the reason, you can import one image of your customer here in the Customer Activity Center. So now we're going to go back to the Vehicle Information tab. This tab is going to allow us to create sales quotes, and then we can move straight from this screen in the Customer Activity Center into an actual sale. So we can sell the vehicle from this point without having to close our customer activity and go into the Sales Activity Center and click Sell a Vehicle. We can do it all from here. So what you do, you will select the lot or lots that you want to search for a particular vehicle. If you have only one lot, then just leave it defaulted to all lots. If you'd like to, you can add an ACV limit, and this is going to help you find vehicles that match a certain limit that you're willing to invest. So let's say I only want to search cars for this customer where I've invested $4,000 or less. Then all I would have to do is put in 4,000 And when I click Returned Qualified Vehicle List, it's going to give me a list of all the vehicles on my specified lots that I've invested $4,000 or less in. If you scroll through your list and you come across an account that's in red, that means that there's already a pending sale on that vehicle. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can't sell that vehicle. You just need to take the time to determine, did somebody forget to cancel the pending deal? Is that customer still on the fence about it? Is there another vehicle they're interested in? So it's just letting you know that there is a pending sale already on that account or for that vehicle. If you had anything that came back in your list that was greater than $4,000 for your ACV limit, then that would be highlighted in yellow. So to create a sales quote, what you're going to do is select the vehicle or vehicles that you're interested in. You can create multiple sales quotes at this point. Maybe your customer's interested in just smaller SUVs, but not a particular brand or model type. So you could pull, the Kia and the Ford Escape and things like that and do sales quotes for all of them. You find the one that you're interested in, double click on it, and it's going to bring it up here to your selected window. From here, I can highlight that row and create a sales quote. This is going to load the F&I screen for us. Here you would put how much you're selling the vehicle for, if there are any accessories you needed to add, if there was a trade-in on the vehicle. If you're going to offer a warranty, then you can click the lookup and browse your warranty providers and choose a package that best fits this deal. You can review the total of your fees. If you click this lookup, it'll break down those fees by what they were: clerical or doc fee, title fee, license registration fee. This one has an online filing fee and some sort of dealer fee. So all of your fees will be broken down here for you. If you created a sales tax, then that would populate here. And if it doesn't, you can come through and view one of your sales rates that you have, create that, and then save it. And that will put your sales tax into the deal. If your dealership is a Texas dealer, then they will have a vehicle inventory fee. If not, then that will just be zeroed out. Your gross total or gross sale price will be entered as you're entering fees and sales price. And then you have a field here where you can put the down payment amount. So if you're requiring a down payment and you set that up in your inventory activity as an asking price 1, then that would populate here for this deal. Otherwise, you can just enter in the amount of the down payment that you're seeking. Now, if you choose to create pickup payments or deferred down payments, then you can select the lookup button next to the pickups field, click add, enter the date of the pickup payment, the amount, and a description, and then click OK, and that will create your deferred down payment or pickup payment. Then you have your loan price here. Then move over and you can see that this is calculated with simple daily interest. The interest rate is 22.5%. We are set up on weekly payments, and there's 155 weekly payments to complete this loan. So if the customer is okay with that and you guys agree on everything, you can review the loan summary where you'll see the amount financed, the finance charge, and then the total amount of the loan, considering everything is paid on time and in full. From here, you could view the washout screen, and it would show you your profit breakdown for the sale. You can print that washout sheet. Or you have an options menu that will allow you to print the F&I screen. Once you're done with your sales quote, click Save Quote. And now if you needed to edit something in your sales quote, you can come back and edit it. You could save this customer application along with your sales quote and come back to it at a later time, or you can delete the sales quote. But what we're going to do, because the customer really wants the car and they agree to the sales price, from here, now that I've completed my customer application and I've completed all the tabs, I can click Create Sale, and it'll take us from this Customer Activity Center directly into Sell a Vehicle in the Sales Activity Center. Before we do that, though, you'll notice we have an options menu at the top of our Customer Application section. Here you can search for another customer without having to leave the activity. You could print the credit application, add a new residence or employer cosigner. You can add a reference, view a new account, add a contract note, or print your history notes. So those are your options available through the customer application activity. So we're going to go ahead and click Create Sale. And you'll see that we're going to move into the Sales Activity Center. Now from here, you would just work through these tabs and complete the sale. Once you're done, you can click Pending Sale if you want to save this and come back and complete it at a later time. Or if you're going to finalize the deal, just click Save as Sale to complete the process and initialize the loan.